Now, after a month-long investigation, the shock news has been confirmed. Christian Horner will retain his role as Red Bull Racing CEO and team principal following an investigation into him by Red Bull's parent company. The 50-year-old was the subject of an investigation at the start of February by parent company Red Bull GmbH after a complaint was reportedly made from a female employee regarding his behaviour, something Horner has always denied and has finally been vindicated. After weeks of investigation, including a face-to-face interview by an independently appointed lawyer with a team principal and CEO in London, Red Bull have decided Horner will remain in his role. What happened? Horner was first put in the spotlight on February the 5th when Dutch outlet De Telegraaf reported he was being investigated by Red Bull GmbH following allegations of inappropriate behaviour made in his role as team principal. An external lawyer was hired by Red Bull and met with the team boss at an undisclosed London location on February the 9th, where he was grilled for a reported 9 hours. But despite the investigation, Horner continued to serve in his team principal role and was present at both the car launch in Milton Keynes and pre-season testing in Bahrain. The Englishman also scheduled to be with the team for the opening race this weekend. Horner was the first and to date only team principal of Red Bull, having been chosen to lead the project in 2005. Under his leadership, Red Bull won 7 Drivers' Championship and 6 Constructors' Crowns and are favourites to retain both in the 2024 season. But that could have all come to an end following the investigation launched into him, which alleged he sent inappropriate messages of a sexual nature to a Red Bull employee. However, just a few days before the Bahrain Grand Prix, owners Red Bull GmbH confirmed Horner was in the clear. They said in a statement, "The independent investigation into the allegations made against Mr. Horner is complete, and Red Bull can confirm that the grievance has been dismissed. The complainant has a right of appeal. Red Bull is confident that the investigation has been fair, rigorous, and impartial. The investigation report is confidential and contains the private information of the parties and third parties who assisted in the investigation, and therefore we will not be commenting further out of respect for all concerned. Red Bull will continue striving to meet the highest workplace standards." How did the pressure ramp up? Truth be told, Red Bull had been under huge pressure pretty much as soon as the investigation went public. The first person to speak on the matter was Williams team boss James Vowles, and while he did not mention Horner, he said allegations like that belonged in a different era. He said, "The sport itself, wind back 20 years ago, male dominated without question. If you had to ask me what makes up a team, it would be white, more than likely male, more likely 40 years old, something in that ballpark. That's changing, and it's only a positive that's changing that result. I can only control what happens within Williams. And what I can do within the environment is open everyone's eyes to this is how we have to be, because the best ideas don't come from being a closed group of individuals, it comes from diversity. These allegations are allegations. I'm afraid I don't have any understanding of what's behind them and the significance of what has happened. All I can say is that should this ever happen in our guard, we'll be entirely supportive in terms of fixing it and making sure we have a culture that's accepting of everyone." Vowles was not the only team principal to have his say, as it was put to long-term rival and Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff. Wolff said, "I think it's clear. Formula One and what the teams do, we stand for inclusion, equality, fairness, diversity, and that's not only talking about it, but living it day in, day out. And I think these are the standards we're setting ourselves. We're a global sport, one of the most important sport platforms in the world, and we're role models. But having said that, there is a lot of speculation that's been happening over the last weeks, speculation that we've heard of, and lots of things that are going on. And I think what's important in that stage, for a process with rigour, what Red Bull has started as an independent investigation, if this is done in the right way with transparency and with rigour, I think that's something that we need to look at, what the outcomes are and what it means for Formula One and how we can learn from that. Because we want to talk about racing cars and we want to talk about the sport rather than these kinds of very critical topics that are more than just a team's issue. It's a phenomenon, or it's an issue for all of Formula One and in general for every individual that works out there. Even Max Verstappen refused to give his full backing to Horner before the verdict was made. He said, "I don't want to get into the investigation because it's not my case anyway, and I don't want to be involved with that. But as a team, we do trust that process and we just have to be patient because there's no need to start saying things, start screaming things out loud. You have to be patient. I think I've learned that over the years anyway. I'm trusting the process. That's what's happening right now. That's the thing that I mentioned with it. But besides that, when you talk about performance, it's of course very important that everyone sticks together. Now, while pressure from your rivals is one thing, it's a different matter entirely when it's people you report to. Pressure put on Red Bull by F1 and FIA before Ford hammer blow. Out of the sport's two main governing bodies, it was F1 who first spoke out. FOM said they wanted a swift resolution to the matter, which was casting a shadow over the start of the new season. Their statement read, "We have noted Red Bull has instigated an independent investigation into internal allegations at Red Bull Racing. We hope that the matter will be clarified at the earliest opportunity after a fair and thorough process, and we will not comment further at this time." Next came the FIA, who also wanted a speedy outcome. The sport's governing body said, "In relation to the independent investigation currently being undertaken by Red Bull GmbH, the FIA reiterates that until such time as the investigation has concluded and the outcome is known, we will not be commenting further. The FIA remains committed to upholding the highest standards of integrity, fairness, and inclusivity within the sport." But the biggest concern for Red Bull will have come from across the pond. In 2026, Red Bull will begin working with an automotive giant Ford to produce the team's engines as new regulations begin. But that relationship is looking to be on thin ice currently, with the American company frustrated at the lack of information they've received from their partners. That frustration was first raised by Ford Motorsport boss Mark Rushbrook, who said that the US automotive giant expects very high standards of behaviour and integrity. But that pressure has kicked up a notch when a leaked letter from Ford CEO Jim Farley to Red Bull showed his more pointed frustrations. He wrote that the company was increasingly frustrated, however, by the lack of resolution or clear indication from you about when you anticipate a fair and just resolution of this matter. We are likewise frustrated by the lack of full transparency surrounding this matter with us, your corporate partners, and look forward to receiving a complete account of all findings." Farley then demanded that Red Bull give prompt and serious attention to the matter. He said, "As we have indicated previously, without satisfactory response, Ford's values are non-negotiable. It's imperative that our racing partners share and demonstrate a genuine commitment to those same values. My team and I are available at any time to discuss this matter. We remain insistent on and hopeful for a resolution we can all stand behind." What are the outcomes? But for the first time in weeks, there is now clarity on the situation. Horner has been cleared of any alleged complaint. The question now is, what happens next? Just a few hours before the verdict, Lewis Hamilton said it should be a moment of change for the sport regardless of the outcome. The seven-time world champion said, "I think it's a difficult one to answer, and actually I think we always have to do more to try to make the sport and the environment that the people get to work in feel safe and inclusive." He told media, including PlanetF1.com. Any allegation has to be taken very seriously. Obviously, we don't know everything that's going on, but it does need to be resolved as it's hanging over the sport, and it'll be really interesting to see how it will change things moving forward in terms of the effect that it may or may not have on the sport moving forward. I think it's a really important moment for the sport to make sure that we stand true to our values. Undoubtedly, it's been a tricky situation for anyone associated with Red Bull to navigate, and now they start the hard task of picking up the pieces. The first race in Bahrain is just a few days away, and Red Bull are still the clear favourites for the title, a claim that will only have been strengthened by a positive outcome to the investigation. For Horner himself, he'll now reassert his control in the F1 paddock. For the first time perhaps ever, he looked weak during this investigation, at the mercy of an external lawyer, but having been cleared of all wrongdoing, you can bet he'll be back with a vengeance and out for blood. So let us know what you think will be the repercussions of the investigation into Horner and what we can expect moving forward. In the meantime, be sure to like the video and hit subscribe so you never miss a release here on the DRS Straight.